Okay, final question for the mock for the attachment topic was outline 2 criticisms of Bowlby's theory of attachment. So I'm going to give you a little bit more detail so you could do a whole 60 marker. This particular one was 8 marks. So let's have a look at what we would need for this. This is really evaluating Bowlby's theory. So you should start with knowledge of his theory always. Okay, and these are the key areas always to get in. And so we're going to say, first of all, it's monotropic, meaning infant plus one other. So Bowlby saying that the mother's role was really crucial, say that mother was the one really, his initial theory was that it was the mother that should be at home with the child. He says that there is a critical period for this attachment to form, and initially he started with it's up to 2.5 years. He talks about an internal working model being developed, so this is a schema, a structure for future relationships, a template for future relationships, which is really important. And he also said that there are long-term effects, so things like affectionless psychopathy, emotional dwarfism, if the child is deprived of this. So we would outline those first of all, and then we would go on to criticising, because this particular question was outlined 2 criticisms. So here, and this would be included if it was discussed or evaluated as well, but here it's literally just talking about the criticisms. So you could talk about alternative theories. So for example, learning theory through classical conditioning that the mother is a food provider and that is why an attachment forms. So alternatives to Bowlby's theory. You could also talk about another criticism is Schaefer and Emerson's contradiction in terms of Schaefer and Emerson showing that there were multiple attachments from about 9 months that they said were equal in terms of, they were equally as good in terms of quality, and therefore instead of just being able to attach with one other, children do form these multiple attachments. So that contradicts Bowlby's theory. Also problems with Bowlby's particular support that he used, so evidence that he used to support his argument. So using animal research, for example, so we've got the imprinting studies from Lorenz, but nidophugus birds have very short imprinting time, and Bowlby says that humans' critical period is up to 2.5 years for attachment to develop. So there's problems with generalizing because these birds that imprint will imprint within about 25 hours. It's very different to 2.5 years. So, we're limited in generalizing. And also we've got Harlow's research with monkeys, with rhesus monkeys. And although that does initially support Bowlby, the damaged monkeys could recover with the help of a therapist monkey. And again, that contradicts Bowlby's work because Bowlby said that it was critical once it's done, the damage, once we've overcome that 2.5 years, that damage is kind of set in the template and it's there to stay. And Harlow's future research, so his further research, showed that actually a therapist monkey, a young therapist monkey, was incredibly useful to try to mend that damaged template. Another criticism, Bowlby later recognised that the critical period was more of a sensitive period and recovery could occur, and that you could link in with maybe with the clinical cases as well, that criticisms. So we've got cases like Jeannie and the Kolachova twins. To some extent Jeannie did recover, but obviously language was not possible because she'd gone past that stage. But the Kolachova twins did seem to make a full recovery eventually, and that counters his belief that once that damage is done, it can't be undone. We've also got things like the implications of the economy. If Bowlby's theory was correct, then mothers should stay at home and not work, and obviously that's got massive implications to the economy. And also, if that is the case, what about the role of the father? That really underplays the father's role, and it is basically saying he's not necessary. And so that is a pretty damaging message, and also becomes a very socially sensitive topic, and all of this is linked in together, the implications of the economy. So we've got the criticisms. So you would just need, for this particular question, you just want 2. The question is outlined, so you don't need to evaluate. You just literally will run through 2 of those criticisms. I would just very briefly, for an extensive question, bring in the theory very briefly, but it's really just talking about the criticisms for this exam question. However, for a more extensive one, we would, and for revision, I've included also support. So for an extensive one, a question that asks you to discuss or evaluate, you should include the support for him. So basically, really quickly, support for internal working model from, for example, continuity hypothesis. So Hayes and the Shaver's Love quiz findings. We've also got McCarthy and a very brief detail on something there that would support it. So see my previous video. We've also got support from Bowlby's work himself, his own work with the 44 Thieves. Basically, he found 77% of the thieves who ended up with affectionate psychopathy. So in other words, those who lacked a social conscience had experienced maternal deprivation, and only 17% of those thieves who didn't have AP, affectionate psychopathy, hadn't got the maternal had lost their mothers. So again, that's supporting his idea of long-term effects of deprivation. We've also got Harlow's work showing the importance of the mother and that it's not about food. Okay, remember with Harlow's monkeys, they clung to the soft mother, the comfort mother, not the food mother when they were afraid. That's implying that it's not about classical conditioning. And so classical conditioning doesn't fit. So this has come up as a sample question before, and this is what they had in the marked scheme. So you can pause the screen and have a look at that, but that's basically what we've covered.